So when there's an offense, here's what I've learned. There's a primary, everyone say primary, and a secondary, everyone say secondary, emotion. And here's what Barb and I have learned for the last 30 years, is when there's an offense, often what we feel is hurt. Now, over the last couple of years, we've realized there's another primary emotion, and it's fear, but the secondary emotion is anger. So what we tend to do is we zoom through the primary emotion, and we get right to the high-octane anger. And we as men often are the ones who really rush to the anger. Why? Because anger is a gatekeeper emotion. Now, here's what I've learned in coaching people, is that these primary emotions are too close to the heart. They're too vulnerable. It's hard for a man to say, you know what, I feel hurt, or I feel insecurity, or I feel irritability, I feel frustration. So what we tend to do is we lean into the high-octane one, because the high-octane one, and it's what we showed with Mike and Jen, if I say I'm angry, it's like the wall goes up, and then I don't have to deal with the issue. And so when we put up that wall of self-protection, then the relationship is at risk. There's a guy named Dr. John Gottman. Some of you have studied Dr. John Gottman. And he said that he can put a video camera in a room with a couple. He's up in the Pacific Northwest, and he can watch for several minutes their interaction and come to a conclusion about whether or not their marriage will succeed or if they will lead to divorce by identifying 4 attributes. Anybody want to know what they are? Sure you want to know what they are, because they're teachable. Here's the first one, is that there's a sense of criticism. Everybody say criticism. Yeah. Now, criticism is when you are personalizing it and you are blaming the other person. You're doing this. So, Steve, it's like you're wagging your finger at another person's face. Nobody likes to have that. So criticism is a foul. Now, I distinguish between criticism and complaining, because we need sometimes to assert and to complain about something that we're not satisfied with. That makes sense. But criticism is personal. Complaining is not personal. So if you have criticism, here's what that leads to. It leads to a sense of defensiveness. So defensiveness is when you put up that wall. So if somebody's being critical of you, it's like you put up the wall in order to self-protect. That stands to reason. The third element is an issue of contempt. Contempt. And I don't know if you've ever seen contempt, but contempt's like when, I remember my sister growing up in Chicago, and Gail would get into a conflict with my dad, and she would just roll her big brown eyes and tisk. And she would sign, it drove my dad nuts. And that was a sign of contempt. And so what I want to tell you is contempt is a real toxic emotion. So if you're in a conflict with your wife and you are asserting something, you can talk about it, complain about it, but not criticize. When you criticize, defensiveness leads to contentment. The fourth element, and if you do the 4 of these, there's a 90% statistical risk that you likely will not succeed in your marriage relationship. Number 4 is called stonewalling. Everyone say stonewalling. And over 80% of the stonewallers in marital relationships tend to be men. And my hunch is in the first responder and military community, that may stand to reason. Because sometimes what we do is we shut down and we pull out. And we go into the cave, we leave. And what we want to coach you on is don't leave, don't step away, stay in the arena. Listen, remember what I coached you with Mike and Jen. Put that wall up around you so that the castle is safe. Be willing to stay, like Barb said, spend those 20 minutes or whatever, put the wall down between you so that you can connect and feel the safety and security in a relationship.